Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Ian Andre Roberts. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Ian Andre Roberts was born on December 18, 1970, and lived in Georgetown, Guyana. On June 1, 1994, he flew into JFK International Airport in New York City. He had a B-2 non-immigrant visa and indicated that he was visiting for pleasure. He left the United States after this, but returned within 2 years. On July 3, 1996, while Ian was back in New York, he was arrested and charged with criminal possession of narcotics with intent to sell, criminal possession of narcotics, criminal possession of a forgery instrument, and possession of a forged instrument. The disposition of these charges is not clear. On November 13, 1998, Ian was arrested and charged with third-degree unauthorized use of a vehicle. This charge was dismissed 8 months later. Ian entered San Francisco, California on March 8, 1999, using an F-1 student visa. Using this same visa, he re-entered in both June and August 1999. In February 2000, Ian filed an application for employment authorization. It was approved in April and expired in a year. Also in the year 2000, Ian competed in the 2000 Summer Olympics in Sydney, Australia, as a middle-distance runner from Guyana. In a preliminary heat, he came in the next to last place. In May 2001, he filed a green card application, which was rejected. On November 1, 2012, in the state of Maryland, Ian was convicted of reckless driving, unsafe operation, and speeding. In June 2017, it appears as though Ian married a woman named Lanisha during a ceremony in Florida. In May 2018, Ian filed another green card application, which was rejected. He filed 2 more times, in June and July, and was rejected both times. Also in July 2018, Ian filed for employment authorization. His request was granted, with the authorization expiring in December 2019. In November 2019, Ian filed another application for employment authorization, which was approved. It expired in December 2020. On February 3, 2020, Ian was charged with second-degree criminal possession of a weapon, third-degree criminal possession of a weapon, and fourth-degree weapon charges. The second-degree charge was for having a loaded weapon outside of a home or business. The disposition of these charges is not clear. On January 20, 2022, Ian pleaded guilty in the state of Pennsylvania to unlawful possession of a loaded firearm in a vehicle. The charge stemmed from an incident on November 28, 2021, when Ian left a rifle in plain view inside his vehicle while deer hunting on state land. Ian was issued a $100 fine. Throughout all these years, as Ian was accumulating criminal charges and working on his immigration situation, he was building both his education and his career. In the area of education, Ian earned a bachelor's degree in 1998 from Coppin State University and a master's degree from St. John's University in 2000. From 2000 to 2007, he was in a doctoral program at Morgan State University, but never received a degree. Ian falsely claimed that he earned a master's degree from Georgetown University in 2013 and an MBA from the MIT Sloan School of Management in 2021. For several years, he also falsely claimed that he completed his doctorate at Morgan State University. Later, Ian earned a doctorate from Trident University International, which is a for-profit school. It's not clear when that degree was conferred. As far as his career, Ian was a teacher in New York City for 1 year in 2000. From 2001 to 2010, he worked for the Baltimore City Public Schools. He had various positions there, including teacher, special education coordinator, and principal. From 2010 to 2014, Ian was a principal at a school in Washington, D.C. From 2015 to 2018, he was a superintendent for the St. Louis Public Schools. After this, Ian spent 2 years as a chief schools officer in Oakland, California. Starting in 2020, he was the superintendent for a school district in Erie, Pennsylvania. In July 2023, Ian was hired as the superintendent for the Des Moines Independent Community School District in Des Moines, Iowa. The position paid $286,000 a year. During the application process, Ian repeated his false claim that he earned a doctorate from Morgan State University. The school board was aware of his deception, yet still hired him. Ian moved to a residence on St. Andrew Circle in Des Moines. Later, the authorities indicated that it appeared as though Ian lived alone in that residence. It's not clear why the board believed he was qualified to work in the U.S., considering his work authorization expired in December 2020, as I mentioned. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On May 22, 2024, less than a year after Ian took the job as superintendent in Des Moines, Iowa, an immigration judge ordered him to be removed from the United States in absentia. Ian made a motion to reopen his case, but it was denied on April 24, 2025. He chose to remain in the United States despite his illegal status. Furthermore, Ian never informed his employer. On September 26, 2025, ICE agents conducted surveillance at Ian's home in Des Moines. They saw him drive away from his home in a white Jeep Cherokee. They followed him until he stopped in a trailer park. When they approached his vehicle, he drove away. After a brief search, the agents found the vehicle in grass on Swan Lake Circle. Ian was not in the vehicle. With the help of local police, agents searched for Ian and found him hiding in the brush 600 feet from his vehicle. Inside the Jeep Cherokee, there was a loaded Glock 19 semi-automatic pistol chambered in 9mm Luger. The weapon was wrapped in a towel under the driver's seat. It had been purchased by a woman believed to be Ian's wife. Agents also found a hunting knife and $3,000 in cash. Law enforcement officers searched Ian's residence. Under a cushion in a chair in the living room, they found a Sig Sauer P320 chambered in 9mm Luger. In the master bedroom closet, they found a Remington Model 783 chambered in .270 Winchester, and a Remington Model 870 20-gauge shotgun was found behind the headboard of the bed in the master bedroom. In a Ford Mustang parked in the garage of Ian's residence, the police found immigration court documents dated May 22, 2024. These were under a floor mat in the back seat. It was the order for Ian to be removed from the United States in absentia. Ian was charged with being an illegal alien in possession of firearms. On September 30, 2025, 4 days after his arrest, he resigned as superintendent. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. Several of Ian's former colleagues spoke to the media about their experiences with him. Here are some of the things they said. Ian was a sketchy figure and a pathological liar. He would lie about ordinary conversational topics, for example, how many children he had. Colleagues felt as though he had been hired because of DEI. Ian did very little work and seemed to be preoccupied with women. He was described as a player. Some of his colleagues thought Ian was too focused on side jobs. For example, he would give speeches about racial equity. Item number 2. When the school board in Des Moines hired Ian, they seemed pretty excited about him. One board member said, quote, "When considering candidates, the board was looking for educational experience, academic excellence, and a passion for innovation and inspiration, and we found those qualities and more in Dr. Roberts. Dr. Roberts' focus on creating equitable experiences for students to thrive, paired with his commitment to continuous improvement, creates an exciting opportunity for our students, staff, and community." Unquote. Ian was also excited about his new job, saying, quote, "I want to thank the board for this opportunity, and I look forward to listening, learning, and leading with input from my school community to increase opportunities for all students using empathy, cultural competency, and continuous improvement to chart our path." Unquote. It sounds like both the school board and Ian had a talent for using big words without actually saying anything. They can always find work writing LinkedIn bios. Item number 3. The arrest of Ian Roberts has caused a tremendous controversy. His supporters argued that Ian was a high-profile target of an overzealous and racist presidential administration who were desperate to paint him as a criminal. He is a victim of an unfair system, only targeted because the administration knew it would be a popular story, which would emphasize the impact of their anti-immigration agenda. Ian's attorney claimed that there had been calls from all around the country expressing support. Ian's detractors view the situation differently. They believe he was a threat to public safety and should never have been working in a school environment. They argued that Ian knew that he was in the country illegally and was essentially a con artist, taking advantage of a gullible school board who was desperate to promote a DEI agenda. Ian lied about earning a doctorate from Morgan State University, and the school board knew about that lie. Despite this, they still hired him. He believed that he could get away with anything. Ian knew that illegal immigrants are never allowed to possess firearms, yet he had firearms in his possession. One was even in his vehicle. In their opinion, Ian should have been arrested as soon as he was ordered to leave the country. He was lucky to have had as much time in the United States as he received. The fact that Ian was able to infiltrate a school system and obtain a $286,000 salary proves that illegal immigration can deprive law-abiding citizens all types of employment opportunities, not just the lower-level jobs. When looking at both sides of the argument, who do I believe is correct in this situation? In my opinion, Ian's detractors are correct. He was in the country illegally and knew he could not possess weapons. This brings me to item number 4. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Ian Andre Roberts was self-centered, grandiose, impulsive, irresponsible, reckless, manipulative, deceptive, had a profound disrespect for the law, had a sense of entitlement, and was moderately creepy. During his time in the United States, he was arrested several times for a variety of offenses. Some of the offenses weren't too serious, but others were very concerning. He earned a few degrees, yet still lied about obtaining other degrees. It seemed particularly important to Ian that he be referred to as a doctor, so he told people he earned a doctorate from Morgan State University when he never did. Despite his arrest record and his deception about his degrees, Ian never had trouble finding a job in education. One can make a good argument that he was hired for at least some of the positions due to DEI initiatives. In 2023, when the school board in Iowa was considering Ian's application, they discovered that he lied about his doctorate. Despite having this information, which should have resulted in an automatic denial for any applicant, they decided to hire him. They argued that the job did not require a doctorate, but they missed the point. The problem here wasn't the lack of a doctorate, it was the lying part. The lesson learned in this case is that the most efficient way to get the best employee for a position is to hire the person who is the most qualified. That seems like common sense. However, this level of reasoning was far beyond that of the school board. At the time I'm making this video, Ian Andre Roberts is working his way through the criminal justice system. It seems pretty likely he is going to be deported at some point. This is not all bad news for Ian. It may actually be exactly what he wanted. In 2022, he said, "One day I hope to return to my birthplace of Guyana, South America, as a public servant." Now moving to my final thoughts. Throughout my career as a counselor educator, I have interacted with many people pursuing PhDs. In certain roles, it was my job to help people earn these degrees, like teach them, mentor them, offer consultation involving statistics and research design, things like that. It is not uncommon for people to really struggle to earn that degree. It is a massive time commitment, takes a lot of energy, and it's academically difficult. The dissertation in particular can be overwhelming for students. They just have no idea where to start. If someone is trying to write a quantitative dissertation and they don't understand statistics, the outcome is not going to be pretty. Not surprisingly, many people give up. Every year, people drop out of doctoral programs. This is astounding considering how difficult it is to be accepted into a program. Sometimes 100 or 150 people compete for only 10 or 15 openings. I've seen numbers even worse than that, like 300 applicants going for 6 spots. If somebody manages to get in and they fail, it can be very difficult to resume. The situation is quite discouraging. There is the sense that the failure is final. How that person convinced the program to take them back or gain acceptance into another program. I have seen people drop out and resume later, but it's not too common. A failed student always has the option of going to a for-profit university, like Ian did when he earned a doctorate from Trident University International. While technically a doctorate, this degree is not going to earn a lot of respect. The challenging nature of earning a PhD, or any doctorate for that matter, leads to some people being tempted to lie about completing the degree. I've seen this in many different forms. The classic example is a person who completed all their coursework, but not the dissertation. They might refer to themselves as ABD, all but dissertation. So for the rest of their life, they're going to use the title doctor, but then qualify that with ABD when pressed for proof of the degree. It's a way of getting credit for the work they did. They want something to show for the courses that were completed. Furthermore, they might be embarrassed about failing to finish the program, so they frame their time studying as a success, not a failure. The problem is that an incomplete doctorate is not a doctorate. The only way to earn one is to actually complete the program. I use the example here of a pickup truck. Say somebody's going to a car dealership and they're looking to buy a pickup truck. They see one that came off the assembly line and it was properly completed. You can start it, you can drive it around, you can do whatever a pickup truck is supposed to do with that vehicle. Then the salesman says, well, if you want to save some money, I have this other pickup truck available. It doesn't have a transmission, and magically, it can never have one. So it has an engine, it has suspension components, it has a bed, it has a cab, it has wheels and tires. It has everything the truck is supposed to have, but no transmission, and you can't put one in later on. So again, kind of magically, it is permanently without a transmission. So if you're looking at that truck next to the one that was completed, it looks pretty similar. You really can't tell the difference unless you get under it and look behind the engine. So you think, okay, well, it's just as good. Now, it doesn't drive. It doesn't do anything a pickup truck is supposed to do in terms of motion, but sitting still, it's really the same thing. I guess that's what people think when they lie about having a PhD or any other doctorate. They somehow think that just the image of a PhD is enough. No substance has to be available. The degree doesn't have to enable them to do anything. They just want to be able to say they have it. They want people to look at them and see a PhD. Dishonesty in the area of doctoral degrees is problematic for a few reasons, not the least of which is that employers might hire somebody without the correct qualifications. Another concern is the personality of the individual who is being deceptive. They are fine with being a fraud. They have no problem living a lie. This is why the school board in Des Moines should have been concerned with Ian Andre Roberts. The position did not require a doctorate, and that's fine. However, it should have required telling the truth. The school board was more worried about diversity than any other trait, including honesty, decency, or integrity. Those are my thoughts on the case of Ian Andre Roberts. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.